Welcome back to Bass Capital Radio Podcast. I'm your host, Lara Wallace, and today I'm personally one of your biggest fans, whether you know it or not, Miss Dana
Yes.
Jones with the Chamber of Commerce. Thank you so much for joining.
Lara, that is so sweet, and I appreciate it. And it's an honor for me to join you on this podcast. We've been trying to schedule it for a while.
Uh,
So glad it finally
yes,
worked out.
you
Or
are.
maybe we'll see
Oh,
the next
it's going
hour.
to be great. It's going to be wonderful. We've actually, you were one of the first people in the trailer, and it was the first video I ever posted was Anastasia with the Basilite, where you did a wonderful job helping us get a great spot, and they were very hospitable. It was amazing. So we've been trying since the podcast
They
started.
were, yes. Y'all didn't blame me for the AC issue, did you? Since I was
Not,
scheduled, and that's when it kind of.
not at all.
Okay, well,
No,
that's good
no.
to know.
That was, it was totally my fault.
Oh, awesome. Well, I'll take 50%
I ran it
of the
at
blame.
I did run it at max, but to be fair, it was exceptionally uncomfortable outside. So if you haven't already learned, the rule of being on the podcast is to answer how you got to Putnam County.
Oh, well, that
Tell
was
us the
easy.
story. Yeah.
My mom, I was the fourth of what soon to be five children, but I was the fourth. And she had some complications, so they sent her to Flagler Hospital,
Okay.
and that's where she gave birth to me and brought me back over here several weeks later, and that's how I got here and stayed here. I'm probably third or fourth generation.
That's what I was going to ask. So that's incredible. Was it in Palaca or East Palaca? Where was your mom planted?
Palaca.
Palaca. Okay. I love that. I love a good multi-generation story where I like when people go and get their experience elsewhere and come back. Have you ever journeyed out of like Putnam for school or moved away?
Just visits and looking around and things like that, but never to stay. I had never had that desire whatsoever.
I love that.
One, we're talking about generations.
Hmm.
Part of my family tree has G. Loper Bailey in it, and he owned the corner of these buildings that on the first
Oh,
100 block.
oh, that's
On the very
awesome.
corner. Yeah, so our history here is deep, and I'm proud of that. I don't know much about him except what I read in some of the old logs, but we come from way back here.
I because of doing the podcast, I've been learning a lot about my own history. I've also been told, which I'm trying not to be offended, that it comes with age that you start to be interested in history. I'm not going to be offended by that.
You're not old enough to be
But
offended by that.
great. So I really started looking into the history, and apparently my mom's family had restaurants here. Obviously, a lot of people know Reed's TV.
Oh, I do.
My mom was a Reed,
Oh,
so
okay. Yep.
and one of our town like knows everything historian, Mr. Larry Beaton, which will one day be
Oh,
joining
yes.
us on the podcast. I think we might be related,
Well,
cousins
that's funny
somehow.
because he and I are sort of weirdly related in that his sister Elizabeth was a lifelong partner of my cousin Scott Marvin.
So you're cousin Dana now
yeah,
to
that's
me.
right. We're kin
Yeah.
now, Lara.
Yeah.
See how that
Excellent.
happens in a small town.
Yes. Welcome to Putnam County, where you might be kin to everyone. And what did you attended? You were just sharing with me before Central Academy merged, right?
Right. So my school is Palaca South High School.
Very
The Fighting
nice.
Atlanta, the Fighting Braves. See, now the Braves are gone, so Atlanta just come in my mouth.
That would have naturally
Yeah.
been a tie for me because that's the only time I think about Braves is Atlanta Braves. But
Yes.
anyway, what was it like growing up in Putnam County?
It was wonderful. It really was. I mean, I had a wonderful set of parents.
Mm-hmm.
Siblings, all 2 years apart, except for the last one, Barbara, and she's 6 years younger. But we were just like a madhouse of fun. School was great. I could walk to and from.
I
Used
love.
to go home for lunch. Friends were everywhere. The Ravine Gardens was my playground because it was then owned by, I guess, the city and open.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the pool, the bowling alley, the skating rink were all
Oh, taking me back. I remember being in high school and going to the skating rink, and
Yeah.
the bowling alley was like a good spot too, but I miss that skating rink. I
Yes.
can still like see the configuration when you come in and the little like the games that they had over there, and then just nostalgia.
Yeah.
I want to.
I'm
We got to
telling
get
you,
a skating
pinball
rink.
game machines were in many places too
Mhm.
back then. The Bookworm had them, and
You remember the mall had a little game center in there too at one point.
right. an
Yeah,
arcade or
yeah,
something.
yeah, the
Yep, they
arcade.
did. They sure did. They had a lot of different
Mhm.
stores when they first opened them for
Yeah.
several years.
I remember Cato was in there, if anybody flashed back to Cato's. And what was the other thing that was in there?
I mean, honestly, I'd probably remember more downtown stores from when I was a kid, like French Bouterie and Alterman's, than I do
Mhm.
them all.
I found while I was doing some history research a directory from 1912 and 1913 of where they called it Lemon Street at the time
Right.
of downtown, and how many like general stores and timber type places
Mhm.
and Kennerly's and all that stuff. So it
Right.
was really cool to step back. And often when I'm talking to guests who've been here their whole life, they talk about just basically living on the street, like not literally living on the street,
Right.
but
On our bicycles
yeah,
and
all the
walking all
time.
over the street.
So did you go to the Howell Theater? Because that was
Yes, I did, as a matter of fact, many times with bottle caps.
uh,
Um,
6 RC Cola caps to be
that's
exact, right?
exactly right. 6 RC bottle caps. We would get dropped off, and of course, somebody would be in charge of kind of marshaling us all in. But we spent many an hour there, because back
Hmm.
then you could just stay at the matinee and watch the next showing. And but yes, I did. Our
It'd be fun to do a movie night on the lawn and hide our like little RC tickets, RC cap tickets downtown in the shops. And when you visit the shop, you get a RC Cola ticket, and then you have to have 6 and you can come watch it for free. That's a great idea if anybody wants to borrow that, doing a movie theater throwback to the
It's
How.
a great idea, but only people my age would probably even know what the relationship to the
Oh,
bottle caps would be.
but we're
We'll have
gonna
to
bring it
market it that
back.
and bring it
Yeah.
back.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I think that'd be fun.
Yep.
So you graduate. What do you want to do with life?
Well, I had so many different careers in my mind when I was younger, everything from an archaeologist to veterinarian and everything in
That was what I
between.
wanted to do.
I never, in my wildest imagination, envisioned a career at a chamber of commerce. Never even applied for a job at one, quite frankly. Um, didn't want to work in the family business. Our family business was Cameron Company, and at one time, actually, it was located on Second Street, where I
Ah,
believe the First Federal Church is,
and what
First
was the
Presbyterian Church.
and what was the business?
Cameron Company Building Supply.
Building supply. Okay.
Right. Yes, and to this day, that Wilson Cypress plant that was just next to Cameron Company um, had a safe, and that safe is in our old building down on 10th Street. We later moved up to 10th Street. That was all cool.
That I can often when I'm thinking or hearing stories of people being downtown, like I really try to be there in my mind, and just having a family business where you can run out and run down the road, and that the understanding I have, it was very communal, and everybody was very close, all the business owners and.
Right. And even though in my lifetime we were on 10th Street,
Hmm.
I could go there with my dad, go walk downtown, go and have breakfast and lunch. There were a lot of lunch counters and
Hmm.
city cafes and things
Oh,
like
I
that.
remember
So,
that. Yeah.
yeah, so it was like that. It was more
Yeah.
communal.
I very much look forward to the day that we capture that again downtown, but with a new twist. Because it'll never be what it was, but what it is can be even more grand.
And more downtowns all across this country and probably others are moving in that direction. They're making them more communal. They're building housing back in to bring people back,
Hmm.
making them the people centers they were, in my childhood.
Right.
So I think we'll see a lot of that. And Placa certainly is setting a great example with all the recent investments that have been
Hmm.
made in the downtown corridor.
Well, then, before we start talking about businesses, how did you end up at the chamber?
Well, I'll try and make it short because it can be long and boring. But basically,
That's
in
subjective. So,
well, if it gets boring, just cough or give me a
then a
signal.
little wink or a
Yeah,
nudge.
a little wink or nudge. Give me the signal. Well, I like I told you, I was at the family business, and I owned an installation company, and I had 2 memberships for the chamber,
Hmm.
and I was semi-active. Went to all the fun stuff, served on a committee, and I got wind that I was very politically active.
Hmm.
I supported a state representative, Hamilton Dump Church, and a couple other local races. Worked on campaigns, and one day I caught wind that this new chamber guy, Mr. Wes Larson,
Mm-hmm.
was considering the formation of a local PAC, which is a political action committee that some chambers have done to, move candidates forward. And I got real upset about that. So I was all over town, we're too small to have a PAC, we'll have neighbors pitted against neighbors. And,
Mm-hmm.
I was just everywhere with it. And I got this call from Mr. Larson,
Mm-hmm.
and he asked me to come to his office to meet with him. So I was like very, very nervous, just extremely.
Understandably.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to stand up for it because, I
Mm-hmm.
really thought it was a wrong path, but I wasn't really wanting to get called on the carpet, by
Oh,
the
for sure.
chamber executive director. So I get down there, and it's a cold day for Florida, so I have a big coat. When I went in, we went in what was then the boardroom of this little small house.
Mm-hmm.
That's the front side now, and the heater was broke, so I had to leave my coat on, with teeth chattering. And he proceeded to just ask me some questions about. It's very odd, I thought, sitting there. What do you think about the chamber? Do you like the events? And I'm like, yeah, I do. I'm enjoying it. He said, I understand you're on one of the committees. I said, yeah. That's as a matter of fact, I really like being on the one I'm on. It was some blue chip industry, something where you went and called on different industries. I said, I actually ended up making a good contact and did a lot of business. So it was awesome, And then he starts talking about the office is small, and they've been having conversations about increasing not just the building, but the staff.
Okay.
And he asked me what I thought about that. I said, yeah. I said, probably a good idea. It was just him and two ladies. And he said, there's just a whole lot of work, and we have a lot of committees. We talked, I swear, I think it was like 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And he finally said, well, what do you think? And I said, what do I think about what? And he said, about working here. And I said, working here? I didn't know
Right.
that's what we
You
were
weren't
talking
picking
about at
up what he
all.
was putting down.
So let's back up a minute, and we, talked more about what he was really doing and why he had called me. And then he said, well, you're going to take the job. And I said, well, I need to go talk to my husband and think about this.
Right.
And, I've got family, I got young kids. I mean,
And you had your own business, right?
yeah, I had my own business. But
Okay.
we were in the process of closing down the larger one.
Okay.
In 87, my dad was getting sick, and we knew that was probably going to be the last year we were open.
Right.
So I go home, and of course he's calling me, 8:15 next morning, if I decided, and I'm like, what is the hurry,
Right.
And he's like, well, whoever takes this job's got to be in Norman, Oklahoma in 2 weeks.
No pressure.
I said, Norman, Oklahoma? He says, yeah, Chamber Institute is a great way to start off your career.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, obviously,
Off to
I took
Oklahoma
the
you
job.
went.
And off I went to Norman, Oklahoma, which was really funny because everybody in my class, of course, was chamber staff people who knew everything. And you know how teachers pick on people. So I got picked on a lot for, how many members do you have? And I would say, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
What's your book value? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
How many committees do y'all have? I don't know. Do y'all have government division? I don't know.
Maybe. I don't sure.
They finally started telling the teachers, the classmates did, so everybody would understand. I'd never sat at a desk before.
Right. What year was that?
That was in January of 1987. My first day on the job was January 17th in Norman, Oklahoma, in 2 feet of snow.
So, well, that's not how we do things here in
No,
Florida,
it is
but
not a good way to do things.
So you have been continuously with the chamber since 87?
Yes.
That's incredible.
Every job there. Well, not every job. I was membership, tourism. They've all had different names: manager, vice chair, vice president, whatever. Economic development, community development, government affairs, executive vice president, general manager.
That's crazy. I had no idea it had been that long.
Yes.
Well, for our
37 years, right?
yeah, that it still blows my mind. How old were you at that? Never mind. Don't answer that question.
I was 12 years old when
I was gonna
started.
say just fresh out of high school because I can't. What that was a compliment, even though it didn't sound like that, because my mind thought There's no way you could have been there that long. You must have been 18 when you took the job. That really is what I was thinking. I'm gonna dig myself out of this hole, people.
It's
Um,
fine.
s- so you've done every job at the chamber, but some people watching may not know what the Chamber of Commerce is or does or where it's at. So start with the easy one. Where is the chamber located?
So the chamber is located at 1100 Reed Street, which is right in front of the Amtrak train station.
Can't miss that. I
Yes, you
never
can't
even
miss
thought about
it.
you being right there, how it must be when the train stops.
Well, it's kind of loud when the train goes by, I can tell
Yeah.
you that. So that's where the chamber is.
Okay.
So I didn't know what the chamber did either, even though I was a member, to be honest.
Okay.
I thought they kind of gave out maps and maybe had fun events. I think that's what my mind
I would sign up
was
for that.
going
Yeah.
into the job. But then I got into the job and realized there were like 20 committees that worked on everything from workforce development issues to other quality of life type issues to um, jobs attraction, retention, and help to business. So the
Right.
chamber is it's a lot of things to a lot of different people. The most I guess the one thing that confuses most people is they think we're like a form of government, and we're just
I could see
really,
that though.
yeah. It's a typical reaction. Most people do believe that, but we are actually a business organization made up of businesses just like yours and this one, who pay money to join to invest, if you
Mm-hmm.
will, in the betterment of our community.
Right.
You know, the bottom line of what we do is create community wealth. You know, and the how we do it is the profitable tourism, like the Basili you mentioned
Right.
earlier. The
Which brings what over a million, right, to our
probably
community.
over 2 million, not counting
Wow.
any media value. I mean, we probably get 9 hours on Fox Sports television time.
Wow.
So it's incredible the return
That's
on
crazy.
investment
Nine
for a
hours.
Basel Master League.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
We get a pretty large investment like that from a tournament like Wilson's.
Mm-hmm.
We just don't get the media value, so it's not televised.
Right.
But they all pack a pretty good punch.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But
I didn't know, like I guess I didn't really know that that's how the chamber was compromised or put together. I guess the first thing I thought of when you said that was um, when they first started the Blue Crab Festival, it was all the business owners coming together. Well, they came together for other reasons, but the Blue Crab was what came out of one of those. But to how to drive business downtown. So similar to that concept, you guys are a group that comes together to create wealth in the
the
community.
wealth that helps those businesses, you know, and that's another confusion a lot of people share is, well, you know, if y'all attract jobs, can you go get us an Olive Garden or a Chick-fil-A of recent?
I was
That's
gonna
been the
say you didn't
question.
go to
Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, well, we hear that a lot too. But what we try and work for with our limited resources, because they are limited with time and people, are what we call primary jobs. And it's not necessarily a big outfit, it can be a primary job with 15 employees.
Hmm.
And the reason we do that, and those are also like the Seminoles and Georgia Pacific and St. Gobain, the most recent announcement,
Yes.
because each one of those jobs creates 2 point something more of retail jobs. A
Okay.
100 primary jobs creates 6 new retail or service jobs.
And that's because the people
money.
who are working here have more money to spend or have
Right.
money to spend and they need a place to.
Right, more disposable income because a primary job is paying people to make a widget, and that widget is sold out of our market, and so the money comes back.
Okay.
Versus a
Hmm.
secondary job, which is selling shoes that you got
Right.
from somewhere to resell.
So back up for 1 second because I think I need to understand what a widget is what you said.
I just use that in general terms. It
Okay.
could be a Angel Soft package of
Yeah.
toilet
A
tissue.
thingamajig, a
It could
doomaplochi
be a
item.
gypsum wall board. I just say widget because it's generic. You're making something,
Immediately,
you're selling it out of town. And
the techie in me was thinking of like a widget for your computer.
I'm sorry, we do not have a widget factory.
I'm so that
Eliminate any
sounds like something
confusion.
from Dr. Seuss, a sneasel or whatever. Anyway, okay, so that makes sense to me. And so primary jobs are those that create something like that. Secondary are that they have items that are shipped
Purchased by
in
them
and
and
resold.
resold.
Got it.
Or
Okay.
like a service, like a restaurant is
Yeah.
secondary jobs.
Okay. That makes
They're
sense.
buying food, serving people,
Hmm.
collecting money. They're all good, and we like all jobs.
Right. They
And
can't
we
go
are
wrong with
starting
those.
to bring in a consultant that's going to help us with some retail attraction to fill in some niches. That's part of the plan with the Elevate program.
So we just did an interview with Mr. Robert Mills, who's been on the board over at the chamber, and he was talking about the Elevate program, which I do want to talk about, within our conversation. But so we understand where it is, we understand who it is, but like, what as a business owner, what would be the purpose of me joining the chamber?
Okay, well, before I address that, I want to
Okay.
say Mr. Robert Mills is our immediate past chairman of our board, as
Yes.
well as a great chamber member. Just didn't
Yes.
want to leave that off.
Yeah, yeah, no,
He
my
was awesome.
apologies.
That's
Yes.
right.
I knew that it was a pass. I didn't want to go throwing out the wrong terminology.
Right.
I'm appreciative that
He
you
was a
knew
chairman of our
what
board,
you were
and
talking
he was
about.
an awesome one at that. So the reason you're asking me about joining the chamber or contributing to Elevate or both?
Well, we'll get to Elevate, but I want
Okay.
to talk about. So I'm a business, and because you were talking about your business,
Okay.
and you've told me what the chamber does within the community, but I want to understand why, if I had a business, would I want to join the chamber?
Right. I understand
Like,
that.
I've already
Okay.
got my business. I'm already widgeting it up.
Yeah. You're not going to just use that word any way you want, Laura. Well, I guess you can, Larry.
Right now.
I'm sorry.
Right now. No, it's okay. I am now.
Okay.
I
All
will
right.
widgeting it up. That you can. I'll put that on Urban Dictionary.
Okay. So my hope would be that people would want to join the chamber to invest in the only organization in the county that works day in and day out to create community wealth for their business and its residents of Putnam County. Because that's literally the core of everything we do, whether it's on the tourism side of the house, the workforce development side, the economic development side, the membership side. We all want a better quality of life, and we all want more disposable income and all those kind of good things.
Right.
So that's why we would like people to join. But people in general, including me, when I was a member, they don't really understand that as much as they do, what we call those hot buttons. So, hey, if you're a new business and you don't know people, you might want access to community leaders. So if you join the chamber, you can come to our after hours events and you have access.
Which are super fun.
Yes, they are super fun. And last night's was awesome.
Yep.
So, and everybody's got one of those hot buttons, if you will. If you have children, I would think you'd be interested in investing in the chamber because their workforce development initiatives are trying to work with the school district and the St. John's State College into programs where our students can go get a certification or a degree or whatever to be an active worker here.
Okay.
Mom can have her kids stay home.
Right.
And that's a strong motivator for me.
It's a motivator
that's why
for
I would
me.
have joined, because my son just recently moved back home after many years not being here. So it's awesome when they come back home and there's a job. So, but people join for all kind of reasons. Some are they want access, like I said. Some want to do the investment into the community.
Right.
Some do it because I'm your friend and I want you to join and you'll get something out of it.
Right.
And they do, so they stay.
Right.
But it's a myriad of reasons depending on what kind of business it is and what their needs are.
And the chamber has an app, which we'll put a link below if you'd like to download it, that takes these businesses and talks about, there's a Explore Putnam magazine as well that highlights all the businesses, right, as part of the chamber.
Destination Putnam.
That's the word.
Yeah, an
Destination
annual
Putnam.
publication of
Yeah.
members.
and the app shows you where they're at in the community, along with many other cool
I was
things.
going to say it's interesting. The app was something that Julie on our staff and I started thinking about and talking about during COVID to try and figure out how do we get people, to come back. What
Right,
visitor tool can we start using to push, outdoor visitation? Because that's the new vacation spot.
right,
Is everybody wanted to go outdoor somewhere? So that app was sort of in the beginning going to be a visitors tool. And then we thought in the middle of COVID, our businesses are hit so hard. How can we use it to drive people into our local
right,
businesses? And that's why we loaded all of our members into the tool and added everything from dentists to plumbers. And
right,
so you literally can, if you're a visitor, you can find that business. If you are a resident, you can't decide where to go to dinner, you can
right.
use that app.
Husbands all over need to download this app. What are we gonna have for dinner? I don't know.
And all the people I see it on Facebook, everybody's always like, "Oh, what is there to do this weekend?" And I try and diligently, type in there, download this app for the
Mm,
events because the events, most of the community events from the whole county are plugged in there,
right.
and we're getting more and more of our coordinators to do that, to
I
do the
love that.
different events. It's very
Uh,
handy.
yeah, and a lot of people ask, to your point, what is there to do in Putnam County, or make the statement, there's nothing to do. And I've been a big believer that we need a centralized map of what is going on in Putnam County. And from a being part of a membership where Bass Capital Radio is a member of the chamber and therefore the podcast. I love, from a member perspective, being able to go in and communicate with other members. So not only, like, from a community perspective, can our citizens, our residents, those who are visiting, go find stuff that of points of interest, but I can also communicate with my fellow chamber members. And there's some great small businesses that I had no idea existed till I looked at that.
That's right. And on that tool, you can actually physically map yourself there. Touch a
Yes.
little map, you can make your whole day plan
Yeah.
and send it to your phone and just follow along a GPS if you're new here.
I like the no thinking aspect of that.
Yeah.
I know what I like, plug it in, there we go. um if I were a business who were interested about, maybe they want to maybe they have more questions, or maybe they'd like to better understand any of this, how would they go about doing that?
Well, there's many ways. Of course, a lot of folks kind of just snoop around the website. You can find things like our strategic plan. You can find things like the Elevate Putnam plan that
Hmm.
kind of gives you the scope and vision of what we hope to accomplish in
Right.
the next 5 years. You can see who is a member, who isn't, who's on our board. Some people come in the door. Some people engage on social media, send us a message, hey, I'm interested. I saw that post.
Hmm.
We're always welcome to people walking right in the door. There is always somebody on the staff that can help a person navigate why they should join the chamber and joining them. And
Oh,
if they're not
amazing.
that kind of person, if they're all techie, they can join right on that website themselves by
So
following a
there's
link and
no
play with.
reason or way holding you back from joining. And I am a was the word we used, ambassador,
Yes, you
because I
are.
think it's so great, place that you can connect as a business owner to this resource. And the chamber provides a lot of, after hours gathering. You guys do workshops. You bring a lot of value to these business owners who have joined the chamber, in addition to some additional publicity, through the chambers, the website or the app or whatever that might be. And we'll leave a link below so you can be sure to access the chamber website and click on the application.
And if you're already a member, you can certainly join Lara and be an ambassador. She leads the charge in that department, and we appreciate that, Lara.
Oh, absolutely. Anything I could do to help Putnam County, and we have so many great, like, I love what the chamber does, and there are so many other additional resources that are just as great as the chamber, that I feel like the concept of the chamber and sharing these things really is what we should have for every resource, a centralized place for these are more ideas. Y'all can write them down. Um, I'll be your muse. A place where we could maybe centralize all the health stuff or resources like that,
That's an interesting comment. We have a leadership class, as you know. Something Robert Mills was passionate about was bringing back leadership Putnam.
Mm-hmm.
And in our classes, all of our participants were just talking about that very thing because we have several of them in all different organizations
Mm-hmm.
and businesses. And like, how did I not know there was this? Or how did I not know about
Yep.
something Goodwill was doing for job seekers? And,
Right.
all around the room, it's like, how do we all live in Putnam County, which is
Right.
relatively small in the big
Mm-hmm.
scope of things, and not connect on a more regular basis?
I
So,
agree with that.
yes, yes.
Well, I feel like if we worked out the logistics together, which again is great, what the chamber is for, getting together with other people on those mixers or just meetings or whatever that might be, sharing amongst the crowd to come up with solutions for that. Um, you know, I think I don't think I know that the community wants that and needs that. If I were a new person coming into town, which you do have people come to the chamber when they're new to town,
Yes, we do.
and I was looking for where do I go for. I mean, you got to think. You need a doctor, you need a dentist, you need to know who to call for plumbing, roofing, all of your life needs.
And that's a service we also do, is we refer members only in
Right.
all those categories. There's not a member that they're looking for. Obviously, we will provide the name of a local business.
Right.
But we always say, hey, please tell them the chamber sent you.
I love that you have the insider scoop on all the new things coming because that's what you're here for. So, not that we're gonna ask you to, tell all, but it's really amazing. Recently, we had the addition of the Wawa. We've got a RV park coming. Anybody who says Putnam is not growing or is a dying town, I challenge that.
Yes, I would too. And I hear a lot about growth from both perspectives. Obviously, there's people who say, I moved here because it's rural and tucked away, and that's how we want to stay, and quit doing your work. And then there's people that say, bring it on, let's be the next metropolitan. And the truth of the matter is, it's really down to how we move forward balancing the growth.
Yep.
Because people with over 1,000 people move into Florida a day. We're going to get growth
A day.
a day. So we can pick
Where are we putting all
that
of them?
growth, or we get what's literally just coming here because they're forced out from more expensive communities.
Right, right,
So we're getting the less affluent
right.
of the new people moving. So we've got to pick and choose better and build a balanced growth.
We want to
because they
have
are coming.
reasons for them to be here.
Right.
A destination place, if you will. Well, then that'll bring me to the Elevate program. So the chamber recognizes that importance.
Yes.
And tell us about the Elevate program.
I'm going to tell you a little bit because I think you ought to have maybe Mark and Laura
Yeah.
come and do a more expanded version.
We'll have a whole Elevate podcast. I like
think
it.
you should.
I
So
think
we'll
that'd
just
be
talk
great.
a little bit.
Okay.
So we recently, under the direction of Mark Linton, our Vice President for Economic Development, who came on board about 2 years ago, engaged a consultant, Convergent, to conduct a feasibility study to determine whether or not it was a good time to do a capital campaign.
Okay.
Because we are limited at the chamber. I've told you this before. We have limited resources with people and time and money, and we need more of all. So in order to do that, we had to do the feasibility study. There's no point in trying to do a campaign if you haven't researched to find out if it's going to work and be successful. And long story short, obviously that worked. We did a soft opening, if you will, of the campaign for a couple of months, and then went full on at the end of June with our kickoff event. And Elevate Putnam is simply a 5-year strategic plan based on 3 pillars of betterment for the community. the jobs attraction, the quality of life component, and the workforce development component. Not their actual real titles, but I didn't bring that publication. But that's
No.
what the pillars are
But
based on.
you're taking into consideration all facets
All
of
facets of
what's
building a
important,
better
right?
community and what's important to the residents who live there, who live here.
Absolutely. And the fact that you take that into consideration is amazing instead of just, oh, well, we're just going to, put what feels right. You're making educated research with proven data.
Yes.
And because there are other chambers, you're not the only chamber of commerce. There are other chambers and communities, so you can collaborate with those
do.
chambers.
We
So I think
absolutely do.
that's awesome. Well, we'll definitely have a more in-depth podcast about the Elevate program because
Yes.
it is quite interesting how we're looking to grow Putnam County. And again, what better time? 1,000 people to Florida a day.
Right.
Whew.
And if you're interested in more about Elevate Putnam, I want to encourage you to go to the elevateputnam.com website and you can read for yourself the 5-year strategic plan. You can ask for more information and you can actually contribute through the website as well and invest in your community and the organization that's trying to make it a better place.
That's awesome. And thus far, if you just want to share, and I think it was June, you said how much we have raised.
Well, now I'm gonna steal their thunder, though.
Oh, well, then never mind. You're going to have to watch
I
for
was
the
just
next
gonna say,
podcast.
I think you need to
Just
watch.
kidding. We're not going to talk about that. And
It's
can
been super successful.
It has.
Let's leave
Because
it with that and let them do
I like it.
the numbers.
Yeah. And there'll be links below. So whatever you do with that is what you do with that. But you always can come back and watch the next episode on the podcast and see what's going to happen. Well, I think having somebody who has seen Putnam County in all of its stages and for generations at that in this position. I don't even think we talked about like what your official title is now. We talked about you've been through all of them, but like what is your actual title?
Well, that's an interesting thing. I asked Laura, um, who is Laura
Mm-hmm.
Pavlis, who is now the new chamber president. I said, I don't really care what you call me. And she said, but no, I want you to have a title. What do you want? What do you want? I said, I don't care. Just call me anything. I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be your administrative assistant. I mean, I really don't. I just want
Right.
to help her. So she's deemed me the immediate past president. It's going to be really long on a card if I should need to go get cards.
We'll call you the IP.
Yeah, I'll be the IP.
Sure, the
I
IP.
like
So
it.
Dana
Yeah.
the IP. And with all that you've done and all the roles, you really do bring a very special perspective between your personal life and your professional life to the chamber, and you're always so helpful. Like I know that I come aggravate you at least once every few months with some crazy idea that I've got or somebody that I want to share or feedback, and that's what I love about it. The chamber is very accessible.
Well,
it's
and
not.
that's just not me, and you're not ever
No, you're not
aggravating
wrong.
us. Everybody on our staff is there to help, and I don't mean just our members, even help residents. I will sit down. Anybody who needs our help,
Right.
we're there to help people.
Right. And y'all do a great job
Well,
at
thank
it.
you. We got a great staff.
And we've done an interview with Mr. Rick Paul, who's also housed in the chamber.
He is.
Yep.
We give him an in-kind office in the back.
Yep. And that's how suiting to have
Yes.
Rick with you guys. So what is something, if you had to say from your perspective, one of the greatest accomplishments since you've been at the chamber? I know you have to think about that, but that's a personal
Well,
question.
it is, and there's been so many high points.
Give me some top
I mean,
ones.
they're just awesome. When we achieved our 5-star accreditation, it was certainly one. We had been accredited for a long time and had been 3-star, but I never really thought we'd hit 5.
Mm-hmm.
That is the top level, and I think the numbers are like less than 2% of all the chambers in the country. So,
Putnam County has a 5-star accredited.
yes, ma'am.
That's amazing.
We do, along with 4 other chambers in the state of Florida.
Wow.
To put that in perspective.
Yeah.
Definitely a high point of accomplishments. Not mine.
Uh-huh.
Our board, our team,
It's a collective.
our professionals. Absolutely collective. Probably the awards for Chamber of the Year are nice.
Right.
And they're a bring home community win.
Right.
So, I was certainly proud of those moments. I think probably COVID and our response maybe was something that for a chamber I think was above and beyond.
Which
Um,
was
well, it was interesting. It was March when COVID hit,
mhm,
and so we had just come off most of our big events. Bass Elite we had that year, and annual meeting, and so everybody got sent home, right? And we worked better as a team. We were only
mhm,
home 2 weeks, and then we decided we were going to send four back, split us up, and get to work helping businesses. So we just the board decided we were just going to ditch our business plan because there's no implementing those kind of works
right,
when pandemic is here for the first time in 100 years.
right,
So we got to work trying to do things like decipher these new rules coming from the state that regulates restaurants, because restaurants were getting, they were closed down, but they were trying
right.
to open, they were trying to be serviceable. And so we spent time taking regulations, taking them apart, and sending them in bites of pieces every day email, everyday phone calls. We split our entire database, which is about 1,100 businesses.
Wow.
And me, Julie, Brian, Daisy, we were like
That's just the
solid.
businesses that are part of the chamber.
No, those are
Uh,
members and
so
non-members,
you
people
guys
who have
serve
dropped.
both. I love that.
So, well, yeah,
Yeah. No, but I'm saying I love that
yeah,
that effort was there.
yeah. Um, wouldn't have ever done it a different way.
Right.
Yeah, no. We spent, Jesus, just study time. I don't know where you were during that in business or not
Yes.
working, but
So we were remote,
you were remote,
still
and
serving,
if you
but
were in a
views.
regulated business, you were getting missives from whatever agency,
Right.
and they were so complicated. Most
Mhm.
of our restaurants are like, does that mean I can put picnic tables out and let people eat there? Do I have to just send them home? Can I sell a alcoholic beverage out of the window? We were just taking all that and just isolate. We'd already like put our hospitality industries in a special email group.
Mhm.
Of course, we also serve at the EOC as one of the ESF functions.
Right.
So first we were reported out there, but because of COVID, we all went remote from there too. Then we did things like we delivered over probably 10,000 masks into the
Wow.
poverty areas of Putnam. People weren't thinking, everybody had masks for sale at some point. But if people have to
Sure.
decide, should I buy milk today or a mask,
Right.
there's an issue. So
For sure.
we went in and drove in and out of neighborhoods for a couple months, actually, a week, a month, and
I
did
love
like 3 and 4
that.
different
Oh
rounds.
my gosh.
But just the delivery of services, just was
Right.
great.
Right.
Yeah.
I think those are great, good
Yeah.
choices. 10 and 10. I don't know what the other choices were,
I'll
but
think
I'm
of
going to
those
say those
tonight
are
at
10 and
3
10.
a.m. or
Yeah.
something, and I'll text you.
Well, I have an addendum to
I have
this.
a bunch of them.
Yeah. Well, I just think how cool that all these things have come together through the work the chamber does and through the work you and your team do. And I, again, am honored to be able to share that and share that with you guys. And so, if you are a business and you're interested, in the description below will be everything that you need to check out what the chamber is about. Aggravate Dana with me. If you are a chamber member, and I would love to hear what you feel like the best part of being a chamber member is in the comments below. And if you feel like you know somebody who should be a chamber member, you can send them this video because it'll have all the links that they need. But as you become Dana the IP, I just want to say how fortunate we are to still have you serving us and all the knowledge that you're going to share with Laura. And I look forward to one day just aggravating her as well. But do you have anything that you feel like our viewers might need to hear about the chamber that we might not have covered?
Well, we've covered a lot today, Lara. I don't know.
That's
it's
okay.
really hard. I do that a lot, and I'm sorry.
No,
But I'm gonna get you Lara,
well,
Lara, Lara,
now
Lara.
you've
I'm gonna say Lara.
publicly apologized essentially
Oh,
for it. So,
awesome, awesome. Well, I
I
don't feel
answer
near
to
as
it though.
bad.
Yeah.
I think we have covered a lot. There's a lot more. I could spend literally hours upon hours talking about the chamber. Um, I think Laura brings a lot of
Not me.
knowledge. Laura Pavlis, my replacement, she brings a lot of knowledge. So the only thing I need to help her with is a transition
Hmm.
into our particular chamber. She
Hmm.
really has the background. I think she's going to be awesome. You're going to love tormenting her just like you do
Yes.
me.
Excellent.
And if you haven't met Laura, she is happy to meet with people too. You might want to call first to make an appointment because she is just, brand new this week, getting her feet wet. Um, but no, I mean, the chamber is a wonderful place. I didn't really realize it when I was a member, quite like I should have,
Right.
but I certainly do now.
Yeah. I think if anybody can give us an insider scoop, it's you. So, well, thank you
You're
for being on the
welcome.
podcast. It took, however long it took, but we did it. We accomplished sitting down,
We
and
did.
we'll follow up with this on the Elevate. And I look forward to seeing how things unfold with you. So we'll have to stay
Yeah,
in
I'll
touch with
come
that.
back and do another one.
Yeah, and plus you've got to come share like some in-depth history. I know we touched on it slightly, but
Oh, yeah.
I like history too.
I know. We'll have to do that. Come back.
Well, we'll talk about the Howl theater tickets. We'll
I
unfold
like
that.
that idea. I'm
I
thinking
think
about
it'd be
stealing that
fun.
myself.
I mean, as long as somebody does it, that's all that matters to me.
Is RC a thing anymore? Are there RC
Yes,
colas?
absolutely. I don't know if they have it in a jar. I know they have it in a can. I know they have it in a bottle. It's
Okay.
facts.
I know we get the cans.
Yeah, I
We'll
like
see
it.
how that turns out.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Just stay tuned. All right, guys. Thanks so much for joining, and we'll see you on the next episode with the RC Cola.
Thank you, Larry.
You're welcome.